Guten Tag, everyone. Why did I just say good day in German? No one knows. Anyways, welcome back to another video here at Justin's Fish Room. And this is a Hump Day Special, so we usually post on Saturdays, as you guys know. This is a Wednesday video, mainly due to the fact that I am procrastinating big time right now. I've got so much assessment due, but let's make the most of it. So as you know by the title and thumbnail, we are going to be looking at how to maximize the growth naturally of German blue rams, or any ram for that matter. You can do this with so many other fish as well. So let's not discriminate. Let's do it with, if you have guppies, do it with guppies. If you have any other fish like that, it's perfect. So we're going to go through a few different stages of what I do, and it's really simple, guys. It's actually very, very simple. You guys probably think I'm going to go into a lot of detail with something, and I've got to do this, and you've got to add that, but it's not like that. All we're doing is we're taking the fry out, putting them into this setup, putting them into this setup, and you'll see, it's really simple. So let's get this video going, and let's dive straight into it. Alrighty, so we have our first container, and this is a pretty popular method in my fish room because it just works, and a bowl is a lot easier to clean than a box container. So this actually has a pretty decent sized spawn of the black celestial line rams from my male beluga. So these are all his little kiddos, and they're doing really well. They've actually just started free swimming. Let's see if I can zoom in on a little guy just learning how to free swim. There you go. So they're just learning how to do it, and by tomorrow I should expect most of them free swimming. I've put some BBS in there today just to make sure that if they are hungry and they do want to pick around, they have that option. So the first container, you're probably wondering about measurements and all of that sort of thing, so I'm going to work in liters. So if you have a look on the side here, I fill it up to 1 liter. And the beauty about this container, let me get a better shot there. So you can see there's half a liter, 1 liter, 1.5 liter, and 2 liter. I never obviously go to 2 liters, but I'll increase this water to 1.5 liters, and that's the maximum they'll go. So you've got to remember that they need to increase the volume as they get bigger, because you want to increase the stability of the water, as well as just make it easier for yourself too. So this is the container, the salad bowl container method for, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks, and it works. And you can see I've put my favorite plant in there, one of my favorite plants. This is Alodia. My other favorite's Kabomba. I also use that in this method, and that serves as a great purpose as well. So let's move on to the next container. Alrighty, so the next container is double capacity of the one that we just looked at, and you can see there is a blue-black spawn in here from one of my really good-looking blue-blacks. You can see some really nice dark fish in there. You can see some blue-blacks, obviously, and then some GBR-looking fish too. So this tank has just been fed, so there's a few little brine shrimp eggshells around, but yeah. You can see here 2 of my favorite plants side by side. So that's the Kabomba, and that is the Alodia. And at this point I do put quite a few plants in here just to make sure that there's that extra level of filtration when I'm not doing water changes. These guys are only about a week old. They are already voracious eaters, and they're swimming so well, which is great. So I did say before that I'll upgrade those ones to about 2 to 3 weeks. That is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that, except if you really want to maximize the growth of these rams in these early stages, you want to upgrade them as soon as possible. So as you can see, I have upgraded these guys after a week to the double capacity container, and they're already growing and thriving really well. So these guys are set out with the black celestial line and the blue blacks, and you can see that's the pair, which are the parents of these fry. So they stay in here because the temperature's maintained nicely. I can just use this water to do water changes because it's nice and clean. I do water changes in here regularly. You can see, oh my goodness, this literally happens every video. I don't know what it is. You guys are lucky charms or something. They're getting ready to spawn, so that's awesome. And so yeah, these guys will grow really quick, pretty soon, and then I'll have to upgrade them to an even bigger container, which I have got, but it's essentially just the same thing, only about another third capacity. So that's what you do for those two stages. And you can see it's really easy. They just float in the container. I jam them under there and under here on the two lips of the fish tank, and it sits there perfectly, nice and happy. So the next stage is at about 3 to 4 weeks, and this is the juvenile stage, when the fish start looking like the parent. Okay, so next stage is the big community tank aquarium stage. So I've just done a big water change on this tank. I do need to clean the glass, so if you're wondering about that, that's why there's just a bit of algae growing there. But this tank is so clean because it gets so many water changes and water top-ups. So I've put one of these, well, 2 of these containers, but we'll get to that, in this tank. And these guys still get fed BBS, but they'll also get adult food at this stage. These are only 2 weeks old, 2 to 2.5 weeks old. And this is one of the smaller spawns that we got initially. So you can see there's some really nice black celestial rams in there. There's some really dark blue-black rams in there too. So this is a great spawn. But you're probably saying, Justin, this is a lot smaller than the previous container. And yes, you're completely right. However, this container is a guppy fry box, or a guppy breeder box. So it's got slits all along the sides. And I tell you now, this is the most effective way to increase the volume of water without increasing the space. Because effectively, these rams have this whole volume here, technically, that they have to, get their waste taken away in. It doesn't, concentrate too quickly. It just goes out of the cracks, gets sucked up by the filter, by the plants, which is quite a few in here. Basically, from here, so these are a week's difference to these, and you can see the size difference. I don't know if you can see the size difference, but I can. And they're from the same spawn. They're actually a sibling spawn. So you can see roughly the same proportion of black knights, which is about half, to blue blacks, which is about half again. So these guys are on purely adult food with some supplemented BBS for some of the smaller babies. And these guys are pretty eager to get out, or eager to get something to eat. So I will have to feed them soon, but I'll do that after the video. So when they get to this stage, I'll wait another 2 weeks for the really small fry to grow and catch up, and then I'll move them to this 2-foot tank setup. So we've just been transported into the fish shed now. So you can see these guys are with some BNs, because the BNs keep the tank nice and clean. And this is actually the very first spawn I got from the blue blacks. And let's have a look. There are some nice fish in here actually. And it's a very small spawn because they were only very young when they had them. But these guys are now growing so quickly and getting color. Let's see if I can get a picture. Oh, BN just scared them away. But they're starting to get red on their tail. I don't know if you can see that. Probably looks brown or orange, but they're starting to get color. And okay, so this is a pretty crucial step for the stage. This is a non-saleable GBR female, and I call her Rhino, and it's because she has something that I call a rhino gene, where her dorsal fin is actually split and created like a horn-looking thing. And this is like a 1 in 1,000 event in my GBR spawns. It's very, very, very uncommon, but when I do get a fish like this, I obviously can't sell them, and I can't breed with them for sure, because people don't want that, but also it's not good for breeders to breed fish that have these abnormal traits. But the purpose of her in this tank is to show these guys how to eat the discus food that I make. And at that point, once they're on discus food, then they grow exponentially. And when they grow exponentially, then they go into a tank that has a lot of tannins, so I can start getting that color nice and vibrant. and they get a lot of that discus food that I was just talking about before. So these guys are doing very, very well. I'm very happy with their progress. They're very active in this tank, and I'll show you what some older ones are. Okay, so here are some blue blacks that are only about 3 months old, approaching 3 months old, and you can see we've got a pretty good proportion of male to female. And look at those colors, they're just so vibrant. You can see I've got a Kataka leaf in here. They've got some driftwood, some moss to look in. Sorry about the glare, everyone. And this pair is actually getting ready to spawn. So I've got 2 to 3 pairs in here that spawn regularly, and I haven't taken out their spawns yet because I'm waiting for this guy to spawn. And you can see he's been dueling quite a bit with other males because he's got a few little rips in his pectoral fins. But yeah, so he's actually going to be sold with his partner, his mate, because I don't want to split them up. But yeah, he's very ferocious and breeds quite a bit. Alrighty. Similarly, you have the GBRs, which are next door neighbors to the black rams there. And these guys are also getting some really nice color. A lot of the females are starting to become gravid with eggs, and also spawning in this tank at the very young age of 3 months. So yeah, it's pretty incredible to see these guys grow so quickly. I mean, that guy is huge, and he's the same age as, say, that female. Actually, they're a pair, I think. Same age as that male and that male, but there's quite a big deviation between the sizes of the males in one spawn. But yeah, so that's essentially what happens. That's the process. Alrighty everyone, so as you've seen, we've gone through a very simplified and very simple methodology to maximizing the growth of ram cichlids. So you've seen that we go from a really small container, it's about that big, 1 litre, up to 1.5 litres over the course of 2 to 3 weeks. And then we can move to a bigger container, and then an even bigger container if you want. It's really up to you, and also observe your fish, because if you have a really weak batch due to any unbeknown reason, it happens sometimes, then you might want to stay in a smaller container to maintain better control of your spawn. If your spawn, however, are very, very vigorous and just have an amazing ability to quickly get onto BBS, to just adapt to any water that you put them in, then go for that bigger size quicker. You know, get them to that bigger container like I have with that blue-black spawn, like sooner, after a week, you know. It's so much better for spawns that are able to cope, because that spawn that you've seen in there, did you see how fast they were swimming, how full their bellies were all the time? It's not that common to see fish that strong in a German blue ram spawn, or a ram spawn. So you want to make sure that you're really increasing that volume of water. Another thing I want to make sure that you guys know, it's not just the volume of water that you're increasing that's important, it's also how many water changes per day. If I have a huge spawn that is slightly weaker than, say, my blue-black spawn that you saw, then you will probably want to do 2 to 3 water changes in a week. So there you're actually diluting all the organic matter, making sure that the ammonia stays down between 0 to 0.25 ppm. Make sure you're doing that with the community fish tank water that they're in. You can use tap water, but I've heard a lot of people complain about their own tap water. You know, there's various different degrees of pH in different areas. There's also different additives to your water depending on which council you're under. So there's a whole heap of variables there, and to minimize the variability in the water change, I like to use the community fish tank water, because at least you know that the parents are happy, and if the parents are happy, the babies will be happy as well. So from there we went to the little containers, and you saw that in the containers the babies were already growing so quickly into the juvenile stage. Then I'm starting to introduce adult food, which is like crushed foods, as well as BBS, as well as some discus food. The discus food's a little bit too big for them at that stage. So then once they're ready, I move them into these tanks, as you saw with this fish tank here. those are the bigger juveniles that I had, and I made sure that I used or utilized some of my curls, or one of my curls that I got. I have another curl that is with the same gene in my mom's discus fish tank, and I don't like to cull fish. I prefer to keep them if they have a really good ability to eat and all of that sort of thing, and swim. So I won't sell those fish, I won't breed with them, but my mom and I keep them as pets. So yeah, that's just something we do, and we utilize them to teach the juveniles how to eat the discus wet food. Because usually if you just chuck juveniles in with the food, they'll just look at it and be like, oh, what's this green stuff? The GBR, as soon as you put the water into the food into the water, will go crazy, and these juveniles will just be like, whoa, that's food, let's eat. So they just go crazy. So if you can, if you have a GBR that is from a previous spawn that has some sort of abnormality, don't kill it, repurpose, give it a job to do. That's probably the best thing to do. Just don't breed with it. That's the only thing I can really stress. If you're going to keep a cull, do not breed with it. Just keep it as a pet. Alrighty everyone, I hope you really enjoyed this Hump Day video. I have had so much fun, and definitely procrastinated enough, so I'm going to have to go back and study. But I will see you in the next video, and yeah, happy fish keeping. Cheers everyone.